Okay, before we move on to our case study, you have to talk about a little technique here. And the technique is called decision trees. You might have heard of them before. You essentially come to a fork in the road and you have to make a decision. Well, one path takes you off into one way and the other path takes you off the other way. And so decision trees are helpful in viewing decisions graphically and making good decisions with regard to being clear on the picture. So a decision tree is a graphical representation of the alternatives available to each period and the likely consequences of our choices. The graphical representation helps identify the best course of action. So when you draw a decision tree, you can draw it for just about anything. Here's an example. This question is what happens if students study or don't study for their exams. Now this might apply to you, but let's take a look. So here's a student, they have a choice. And the first fork in the road they come is, do they want to study finance or do they do not study? So if they study finance, they have three outcomes that could come from that. One is an A grade, or a B grade, or a C grade. So the circles represent the receipt of information regarding a test score, and they could get different grades. And of course the squares represent possible alternatives. So when you start thinking about what your alternatives are in studying finance, is if you study, you get an A, B, or C, depending on how hard you study, how much talented you are, and blah, blah, blah. And if you don't study, well, you're probably going to get a D or an F. And of course, that is the alternative. So your choice is to study or not to study, and it doesn't guarantee you an outcome, but it puts some probabilities in perspective. Well, this is obviously a very simple example. The next case study is going to get into a pharmaceutical company which has different levels of trials and different levels of examination of the product itself. And at each fork in the road, they have to decide whether they're going to spend more money going forward or whether they should abandon the entire project and see if they can find some salvage value from it and be done with it. So when you think of decision trees, they're often more complicated than this little example, but in each case, you have to remember that decision trees are ways of thinking about it graphically. And if you're a visual learner like I am, you love seeing graphics of decisions that I can visually see, so I'm very clear on what's going on and what the alternatives are. So decision trees are very helpful. So we're going to talk about them a little bit more in the next case study.